It's really, really great to be with you today. Before I begin, I just like to say a few words. St. Vincent de Paul says, ingratitude is the heinous of all crimes. You know, and I think before beginning, I want to thank all of you for all that you do for the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. Whether you're an employee or a volunteer or whatever it is, I thank you for that. I said Saturday, I was telling some people there that at the airport on Friday, I bumped into this daughter of Charity, and she was going to New Orleans for a meeting, and she said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going to Phoenix to give a couple talks." And she said, "Oh, Phoenix." She said, "I've never been there." She said, "But I hear that St. Vincent de Paul does a fabulous job." I said, "They do." I said, "It's like Major League Baseball, you know, and compared to other places in the United States." So, I mean, you've been blessed over the years with great leadership. And I don't know if you know that, but you have been, you know. I'm thinking about Nancy Spencer, whom I knew. The pictures hanging up in the chapel here. The chapel is dedicated in memory of Nancy. You've had Steve Jenkins, you've had Terry Wilson, you know, these people who have been president of the society, the council, and Terry is the first national vice president now who's been involved with the international scene. Joe Riley is the president, and you got Steve Zawinski here. Steve is the executive director who does a magnificent job. You know, I just want to thank all those people who've done so much. But for all of you, people in the trenches, I call them, the ordinary Vincentian people who do all the work, who visit the poor, and who work in the kitchens and the dining rooms. I was over in the one dining room this morning and saw all these people and all these volunteers. You know, it's wonderful. You don't see this. You know, you don't see this all over. It's a wonderful thing. And all you employees, you make the society work. You make it happen, you know. And as we reach out to God's poor, and as you know, the situation is not getting any better, and there are more and more people coming seeking help. You know, people are just dire need of help. And you know that, I don't have to tell you that. Okay. I'd like to tell you a story. It's a story about how the Society of St. Vincent de Paul ever got started. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an ending, except for the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, there is no ending. You know why? Because Jesus says, "The poor you always have with you." Right? And the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, I think, is going to end when the world ends. Our story starts in a newspaper office in Paris, France. It was a newspaper called The Correspondent. It was kind of an unusual newspaper because it came out 3 times a week. It was free. It was free for anybody who would read the thing. And all the articles were written by one man by the name of Emmanuel Bailly. He was the owner and the publisher of the newspaper. But The Correspondent, this newspaper, folded when another newspaper appeared. But the content of this new newspaper was kind of off the wall, more than just liberal. And so, again, Mr. Emmanuel Bailly decided to put out another newspaper, which was kind of like the middle of the road. Again, 3 times a week, free, and he wrote all the articles. At the same time, Bailly decided to open up a small boarding house for students who were coming in and going to school at the University of Paris. They call it the Sorbonne, which today is still one of the most prestigious universities in the whole world, in Paris. And these students would come in from these little towns, these little cities in France, and they didn't know anybody, and things were not easy at that time in Paris. Dangerous situation. The Sorbonne was very anti-Catholic, anti-Christian because of the professors. There was all kinds of revolutionary stuff going on in France at this time. And so what happened is, they opened up this little boarding house. And it was a safe place. And then what he did is, he started a study group and a discussion group called the Conference of History at this boarding house. And they met every Saturday morning. He would give a talk, and there would be a discussion. Now, most of these college kids were all Catholic. But what happened is, there was a few in number, so he opened it up to students of any religion, which meant that some of them were anti-religion. And so they did. He started this conference of history. And it went from 15 members to 60. So what happened is, the place where they were meeting was too small, so he rented another hall, bigger hall, so they could have more space. Again, he picked up all the expenses, he gave the talk, and then there was discussion. A friend invited a young student from the city of Lyon, France, and his name was Frederick Ozanam. He had just arrived in Paris at the beginning of November 1831, and he enrolled in the law school, because most of these students that I've been talking about either were in the law school or in the School of Medicine. Ozanam's dad was a doctor, a medical doctor, but he wanted his son to be a lawyer. And his dream for his son, you know, like when you're a father, you have dreams for your kids, right? And he saw in his son so many good qualities. He said, not only can you be a lawyer, but I can see you as a federal judge. And Frederick says, okay. Frederick really didn't want to be a lawyer. But his dad said, I want you to go to law, so he did. Now, these Saturday meetings started to get a little heated up, you know. One thing they would not talk about, which was really smart, they would not talk about politics. Because to talk about politics in Paris, France, at that time, was pretty dangerous because of all this revolutionary stuff that was going on. So they avoided politics, but they got hot and heavy in all these other arguments. But Catholicism was kind of like on the firing range. Frederick saw all this stuff going on. All the debates, all the mental gymnastics back and forth, you know, with people, talk and more talk.